we should understood what are the various architecture that is being followed in the application layer. Architecture that is being followed in the application layer. Basically, there are three types of architecture followed. First one is called as a client server architecture. Client server architecture. Second one is called as a mixed or hybrid architecture. Okay. Let's start with the first most important, client server architecture. What is a client server architecture? Client server architecture. Okay. Let me tell the example of a client server architecture, then you get lot of information, lot of idea about it. So you are let's say you are accessing facebook.com. Okay, when you are accessing facebook.com, so what you are doing, you are opening your browser, you are opening your machine, laptop or desktop, then you are opening the Google Chrome. Okay, in the Google Chrome you are typing www.facebook.com. So when you are typing, do you know, so what happens? So you are contacting the server which is present somewhere else. So that is, so when you talk about Facebook uses this client server architecture. When you are using Google, so it is using client server architecture. That means you are contacting a server, so from your machine, so from your browser, which is a client. So that means, so as far as the client server architecture is concerned, there are two most important components. One is called as a client component, other one is called as a server component. Okay. In a client server, so architecture, two components is most important as far as the communication is concerned. One is a server component, one is a client component. If I think of the server component, let's say you are contacting google.com, facebook.com, whatsapp.com. So that means somewhere the server is sitting. So we are contacting the server and getting the information from the server. So that's why what? The server must be the first and foremost important properties of a server. It should be always on. It should be always on. That means, so whenever you are contacting Google, so Google server must be always on to provide the service to you. Whenever you are contacting Facebook, so Facebook server must be always on somewhere, so to go and provide the service to you. That's why, so first of all, if it is a client server architecture, the server component of the client server architecture should be always on. That is the first and foremost important property. Second property, the server, what I told, server is a machine. Okay, and if you want to make a communication in the computer network, you must have a IP address, destination IP address. Then only you can able to communicate to that particular machine. So that's why, so the server must be associated with the IP address. That too, it must be a fixed IP address. Fixed IP address. The server must be associated with a fixed IP address. So when I say fixed, it does not mean that it is fixed forever. Okay, so it is fixed for lifetime, but actually fixed means it is not going to change very frequently. In that sense, I am saying it is a fixed actually. Actually, it is not fixed forever. Okay, it may be fixed for 1-2 years. After 1-2 years, that IP address may change. Okay, so that's why in that sense, I am saying it is a fixed IP address. Okay, so first property is server should be always on. Otherwise, I cannot get the service. So second property is, so it must have a fixed IP address to whom I should contact to get the service of. Okay, then third, it must provide specific service. Specific service. It must provide specific service. What I mean to say, specific service, if it is a facebook.com, whatever service Facebook server is going to provide. If it is a gmail.com, it is a different service. So that's why from server to server, different type of service should be provided. So that's why the server should be designed in such a way that, so the requisite specific service should be served or should be given to the respective client. So these are the three most important properties of a server as far as the client server architecture is concerned. What is a client? Sorry, let's look into the client. So should my client should be always on, or it may be on off depending on its requirement? Just think up and tell me. Think. You are opening your desktop or laptop. At that point of time, opening your browser and contacting google.com. That means the client is not always on. So whenever it requires the service from the server, it ons, and whenever its work is over, then it is again going to off. So that's why we say client is intermittently on or off. On or off. That means time to time it is on or off. It is not needed to be always on like the server is. Okay, it is intermittently. So depending on the requirement it comes on, and depending on the requirement it goes out. So that's why it is intermittently on and off. Second, also nearby to your home, your friend is also connected to Airtel. So all are having the same network. Okay, if you are going to be assigned with a fixed IP address, okay, that is manually, so then it is going to be very difficult. So for the sake of maintaining the IP address, so that's why a protocol has been designed which is automatically to automate the assign of IP address. So a protocol is designed which is going to take care of the thing. So that's why it will be easy for the sake of assigning IP address actually. Okay, so that is IP address assignment becomes automated. And point so third properties of a client server, that is always the client sends a connection request to the server. That means, so whenever you want to get the service, whenever you want to contact to facebook.com server, first of all you send a connection request. Once a connection is established between the client and server, now the communication between the client and server is going to go. Okay, so these are the properties as far as the client and server is concerned. Now, so what I say, the client machine is normally a laptop or a desktop from which we try to connect to the server. Can you think of the server machine? Can the server machine just like a laptop and desktop of ours like a client machine or not? Can the server machine be just like a laptop or desktop like our client machine? Or it powerful in terms of memory? It must have lot of memory. It must have lot of processing power, CPU power. Yes or no? So that it can go and process number of requests simultaneously. So that is, so the server machine must be a powerful machine. It cannot be a very simple machine like a laptop or desktop. So that's why if it is a powerful machine, so then what I have to think of, so the piece, as the server is always on and it is a powerful machine, so infrastructure has to be developed prior to the client server communication or not. Client server communication करने से पहले some infrastructure has to be developed or not. So that's why, so this client server architecture is basically called as a infrastructure based or infrastructure intensive. That means intensive. That means, so beforehand, infrastructure needs to be developed in the form of a server. A server needs to be installed somewhere. So maybe multiple servers needs to be installed. Powerful machines needs to be installed. then only, and it has to be always on. So then only at any point of time, any clients wants to connect with the server can connect and get the service. So that's why infrastructure first of all needs to be developed, or infrastructure has to be in place so as to get this client server architecture possible. If it is an infrastructure base or infrastructure needs to be beforehand, so then obviously it is more costly. Yes or no? So it has to be more costly in terms of communication is concerned. Okay, and but it is very simple in nature. But it is very simple. Why I am saying it is a simple client server message? Client server architecture are very simple in nature, because if I think of the communication, if this is my server, there may be multiple clients. This is client number 1. This is client number 2. This is client number 3. Okay. So client number 1 wants to connect to the server. He just send a connection request to the server. So connection is established between the client and server. Now whatever client wants to download or upload from the server, so server is going to provide that. Client 2 wants to connect to the server, so do the communication, then stop. So client 3 wants to get something from the server, just simply connect to the server and get it, and stop it. So that's why the architecture that is being followed as far as the client server architecture is concerned is very, very simple. So three things we have to understood. Client server architecture is infrastructure based or infrastructure intensive, and it is costly. Why it is costly? Because we have to install a lot of servers which are very, very powerful machines. So we have to incorporate a lot of cost for that. So that's why. So the cost of communication as far as this client server architecture is concerned, it is costly. So then it is simple. Why it is simple? Because always I have to just contact to the server to get things. I don't have to bother about anybody else. So that's why the communication is very, very simple as far as this client server architecture is concerned. Okay. So another share it. That is another example of where you can go and share your files. Okay. So these two applications are two most popular peer-to-peer application or application layer architecture is concerned. Now let's try to understand what is the basic difference between a client server and peer-to-peer. Let's say, for example, so if I talk about peer-to-peer, what happens? So there is no designated, first property of peer-to-peer is no designated server. No designated server. Like client server architecture, there is a server, there is a client. So client is always going to contact the server to get the service. But in peer-to-peer architecture, there is no designated server. So what happens? Every machine behaves as a peer. Every machine who wants to communicate in this network, so is behaving as a peer. That means, so let's say, for example, this is machine number 1, this is machine number 2, this is machine number 3, this is machine number 4. Okay, let's say at this point of time, so there is a file in machine number 2 and machine number 1 wants to download it from machine number 2. At this point of time, machine number 1 behaves as a client and machine number 2 behaves as a server. That means machine number 2 will upload the file, so machine number 1 will download the file. So that's why, so machine number 1 behaves as a client at this point of time, whereas machine number 2 behaves as a server at this point of time. Now, let's say at another point of time, what happens? There is another file which is present at, so this machine number 1, and so machine number 3 wants to download that file. Machine number 3 wants to download that file. That means at this point of time, machine number 3 behaves as a client and machine number 1 behaves as a server. That means at certain point of time, machine number 1 behaving as a client. At certain other point of time or at the same point of time, machine number 1 also behaves as a server. So that means there is no designated client or no designated server. Every machine, so in this peer-to-peer network, is behaving as a client as well as server, and every machine is just a very simple machine like a laptop or desktop. Okay, so every machine is a laptop or desktop. So that's why, so we do not need any designated server. So if I do not need any designated server, every machine is just like a laptop or desktop. So what happens? So my cost of communication, what about my cost of communication? My cost of communication will be less. So it will be cost effective. The communication will be cost effective as there is no pre-designated server. So as we do not have to install any infrastructure beforehand. So that's why this is also called as infrastructure-less. There is no infrastructure beforehand is required to make this communication possible. So these are the advantages as far as peer-to-peer architecture is concerned. But can anybody think of what is the disadvantage of it? What is the disadvantage of this peer-to-peer architecture? Can anybody? Obviously, why it is simple client server? Because anything I want to get, I just contact the server and get it. I don't have to bother about it. कोई भी फाइल मुझे डाउनलोड करना है, कोई भी चीज मुझे पाना है, I just contact the server and get it. But here, if I want to get a file, first I have to know which particular peer have that file. मुझे ये पहले query करना पड़ेगा. Yes or no? Yes or no? Because that's why in a BitTorrent, what you are doing? First of all, you are downloading a torrent file, and that torrent file is nothing but it keeps the information where the file is present actually. So you are searching for a torrent file. If you don't have the torrent file, you can't download the file. Are yes or no? Complex, because first of all I have to query. So my file is present in which peer. I have to query for that. then it may happen. So that peer may be off at this point of time because these are all client server. So that means there is no designated server. So everybody behaves as a client and server. So anybody can be on or anybody can be off at any point of time. So that's why. So even if I know the location of the file, if that particular peer is not so on at this point of time, still I could not able to download the file. So there are a lot of difficulties. It may happen. So that file location, wherever it is present, that may be off at this point of time. So that's why there are a lot of difficulties as far as this peer-to-peer communication is concerned. But the most important advantage as far as this peer-to-peer communication is concerned is it is very, very less costly. The cost of communication is very, very less as far as this peer-to-peer communication is concerned. That is the most important advantage. Okay, so that's why we are using this peer-to-peer. But peer-to-peer has advantage, so it is cost of communication is less. But the disadvantage is, what is the first so important disadvantage is complexity. So the communication is very, very complex. And another important disadvantage can be secure. So that's why as far as peer-to-peer communication is concerned, there is a concern of security as far as the communication between one device to another device is concerned. So these are the difficulties and these are the advantages as far as the peer-to-peer communication is concerned. Understood? Okay. So now coming to WhatsApp is basically a hybrid architecture. Okay. So what is a hybrid architecture? Hybrid architecture is a combination of both architecture. That means combination of client server and peer-to-peer. Okay. It tries to combine the advantage of both client server and peer-to-peer architecture and come up with a new architecture, mixed architecture, that is a hybrid architecture. What does it mean? Okay, what I mean to say is that in case of a hybrid architecture, so let me give the example so that you can able to understood. Okay, so let's say this is my server. This is the WhatsApp server. Let's as you have asked the question, let's so tell me, discuss in that angle only. So this is my WhatsApp server. Let's say WhatsApp server. Okay. So these are the clients. These are the various clients. So of WhatsApp. Client number 1, client number 2, client number 3. Okay. So now initially when you use WhatsApp, what you are supposed to do? Can anybody tell me? You tell me. Initially, first of all, every client is registering with the server. So that is called as that means the first step is initially everybody contacting the server. Initially, as a hybrid architecture, initially everybody is contacting the server. That means, we are registering with the server. Once we register, then if I want to use WhatsApp, we have to log in. We have to provide my username, we have to provide my password, and we have to log into the WhatsApp server. Okay, that means, whenever I am logging in, WhatsApp is authenticating my username and password, whether you are a valid user or not. And that communication happens between your machine and the server, and that is a client-server communication. Initially, we are doing a client-server communication to register with the WhatsApp and to log into the WhatsApp, okay, for authentication purpose. Once you have authenticated by the WhatsApp server, you are a valid user. So now what you can do, if you want to communicate with your friend, okay, you can directly contact to him bypassing the server. Okay, so now you can directly contact to him, so bypassing the server. So this wants to contact to him, this message need not to go through the server. So this can go and directly contact to the server. So that is once logged in, you can talk to each other directly. Okay, so by using peer-to-peer, this is peer-to-peer communication. That means initially, initially you are contacting the server. Okay, so you are registering with the server. So then you are logging into the server for a authentication purpose. You are a valid user. Once you are a valid user, now user to user communication can happen directly bypassing the WhatsApp server, so that we can talk directly. Okay. So any kind of instant messaging, so application you are using for chatting. So those are basically using this kind of hybrid architecture. So what is the benefit of it? So benefit is that in case of peer-to-peer architecture, there are a lot of security issues. Yes or no? So that's why here the security issues is less. Why? Because every user whom we are talking to are all valid users, are all authenticated users. So that's why security risk is being reduced as far as this hybrid architecture is concerned. So during the communication we did not use the server. So that's why load on the server is minimized also. So by using this hybrid architecture. So hybrid architecture is a combination of client server as well as peer-to-peer architecture, where we can go and combine the advantage of both to get the benefit of both the technology. And these instant messaging applications mostly go and use this kind of hybrid architecture to make the communication feasible. Understood? Every application layer we follow a protocol. Okay, so we follow a protocol. So there is a protocol. Protocol is nothing but something rules, certain rules. Okay, so that means what is a protocol? What to send, when to send, where to send, when somebody is receiving this, how to react upon this. So that is a protocol. That is nothing but a protocol. That is a rule. Let me give a simple example of it so that you can understood better. Okay, let's say you are going on the road. You are going on the road, and also there is a trespasser who goes on the road. You are going on the road, a trespasser is going on the road. That example I have given, I think, earlier. You do not have mobile, you do not have the watch, you want to know the time. Okay, so you want to know the time from the trespasser. So what you are basically doing, kaise aap puchte hai? So normally you say hello. So then waiting for a response from his hi. If he says hi or she says hi, so then you are saying what's the time? What's the time? This is one way. Another way, you are here, the trespasser is here. Okay, sometimes you directly say what's the time? What's the time? These two are nothing but two different rules. This is rule number 1. This is rule number 2. Okay, so this is a set of rule. How you are communicating with your peer. It is nothing but a protocol. Okay, this is another rule. This is a protocol, different protocol. That means protocol is nothing but a set of rules by which we communicate to others. So what is the rule here? If I look into the rule here, what is the rule? So I first say hello. Let's say after saying hello, he did not reply me hi. If he did not reply me hi, I make sure, okay, this person is not going to tell me the time. Don't ask me the time. So that means you are sending a hello message, saying a hello message. If you are responded back with a hi message, then only you are saying what's the time. Otherwise not. That is the rule. Okay. So but here, this is another protocol. So where you are directly asking, okay, let's don't bother about whether he will tell the time or not. Directly let's ask him why to greet. Okay. So that is another set of protocol. That is somebody else may think of like that. So that's why depending on the requirement, you have to design what kind of communication I have to do with the peer so that my communication will succeed. So this type of communication can be called as a reliable protocol. That means if I say hello, he say hi, means he will tell me what is the time. Time mein puchunga to woh mujhe batayega. But here, if I do not, so before asking the time, if I do not greet anything, I don't know whether he is going to tell me the time or not. So this type of protocol may be an unreliable protocol. This protocol may be an unreliable protocol, whereas this protocol may be a reliable protocol. So depending on the requirement, so we have to design the various protocol. Protocol is nothing but the rule, set of rules. So in the protocol, what you have to think of, so what is the syntax of the message? Kya message? What is the syntax? Hello. Second ka message ka syntax kya hai? Hi. So this is the syntax. What should be there in the message? What should be the syntax of the message? So then second one is semantic of the message. Sorry, semantic. Semantic means what is the meaning of the message. Okay, what is the meaning? Hello means I am requesting something. Hi means he is responding something. That is the meaning of it. So what is the meaning of those messages we should understood as a part of the protocol. So then another thing, so when to send the message. Let's say hi message मुझे sorry what is the time, ये जो message है at what point of time I should send? Only when I receive the hi. So that is the rule. So when to send, and when I am receiving something, let's say I receive a hi message, how to react upon it. So when I receive something, then how to react upon it. So this is nothing but a set of rule, or that is called as a protocol. So in the next